Ichigo awakens by Talacha, chapter 75, the Winter War, Isolation, Age, and Sacrifice, Ishin versus Stark, the most fighters, it was a furious battle. Every swing created a shower of sparks as the swords collided, and shockwaves of force that rocked the air. The battling duo blitzed around the area as they continued to struggle against each other. To the wiser and more experienced fighters, the two were simply putting on a show. Instead of putting any effort into killing each other, Stark asked if they could just fake it since he wasn't in any real mood to fight. And Ishin agreed since he'd rather try to get the spotter to change sides. Those two, Stark thought as he kept an eye on the other fighters, particularly the siblings. Are they like me? He barely managed to block a swing from Ishin as the two continued to clash. This one is strong, so our minute captains was I just unlucky to be where the strong are forced to be alone. And something on your mind, Rankar? Ishin asked, breaking the Primera out of his thoughts, just before flicking him in the head and sending him flying through a couple of buildings. Lillianette wanted to attack the captain, but that struck her partner. But some surprisingly quick action from Stark stayed her hand as he attacked the captain. Am I that easy to read? He asked lazily as the two continued their dance of blades, occasionally throwing in a punch or a kick. Comes from being a dad, especially to a teenager and girls. Ishin returned as he dodged the sudden sterile blast that Stark released without any build-up. And you were really interested in Homura and Shizuka's fight. The two stopped and analyzed the other. We wouldn't need to fight if you were willing to change sides. Stark narrowed his eyes and dashed at Ishin, exerting actual effort in throwing the captain off guard before throwing him into a building. It wasn't a second later that the Soul Reaper struck him with a harsh kick to the head that sent him tumbling. Mercy, he wondered, remembering the years and years of isolation he suffered because of his own strength. And this is supposed to be the father of the kid that invaded Las Noches, a kid that Aizen seems hesitant to fight. How is it that the Ichigo kid can have so many companions if he is strong? He unknowingly whispered aloud as they clashed again. It's because he has companions that my son is strong. Ishin spoke out, freezing the Rancor with the absurdity of the idea. Ichigo made sure to become strong so that he could protect his companions, and then did the next important thing, ensure that he can control that power. The fight stopped as Stark processed those words, turning to look at his only companion in his life, his other half, Entracion Lilinette, who sat on a nearby building and waited for Stark to need her, the one he created to free himself from his isolation, and further aided by Aizen giving him people in the Espada. Now here he was once again being offered a group and more companions, but he would have to betray his first savior for a possibility. Rangiku, Senna, and Momo versus the Tres Bestias. So 3 of us against the 3 of them. Matsumoto asked as Senna and Momo blasted through a Gillian and began to close in on the female trio, female Rancor. Are we still recruiting by the way? I think so. Momo answered as she began to spin a Kido net for any of her future traps she wished to use. But I didn't think they're willing to betray their masters. Just then Senna jumped past them with her usual manic pixie smile. I'm on it! She loudly cheered as she got in front of the trio of Rancor women. It's up, named Senna Shiba of Squad 15. She happily announced to the girls. Question, what would it take to get you nice ladies to switch sides? This got them to stop and look at Senna like she was insane. Is this bitch for real? The black-haired girl with heterochromatic eyes asked her allies. Her mask was a vertical headband with a single horn on her head. The other 2 were a dark-skinned Amazon woman with long wavy black hair and a 3-pronged crown with thick necklace as her mask, wearing a little more than a two top and pants. And another woman with long olive green hair and a long sleeve dress with 3 pink dots under her right eye, with her mask resembling a hair clip. What the hell is going through her head? It looks like Soul Society really is recruiting, like that Kurosaki kid said. The Amazon returned, glaring at Senna, who was still smiling and waiting for an answer. But they must be insane to think that we'd ever betray Lady Haribel. If you recall, Ichigo Kurosaki's group was making that offer to the Espada as well. The long-haired girl reminded them. They might try to convince Lady Haribel to defect as well, which, by the way, is the only way we'd accept your offer, Miss Shiba. She continued making her fellow Rancor nod at the truth of her words while Senna pondered the matters. I see, she whispered while Hinamari and Rangiku circled around and continued the distraction. Then, what would need to happen for her to switch sides? The three Rancor looked at each other, having a silent discussion on the matter. Lady Harwell joined Aizen for the power to protect us. The Amazon answered for them. You'd need to convince her that she wouldn't be making a fool decision, the poor decision, or sacrificing others for power. Sounds like she and Ichigo would get along great. Zen returned, smiling at how alike the female Spada and the hybrid protectors were. What are your names? Emila Apasi Rancor 54. The tomboy answered first. Francesca Mila Rose 55th. The Amazon continued. 56th. Xian Sung Sun. The oliver-haired girl finished. I'll be sure to remember that for when we become friends. Zen nodded in response. Till then, this is gonna hurt. She jumped back, surprised the three as they were soon tied up in a multi-layer keto net that organized from both Momo and Ragiku. Burst! Hinamari said as she tapped her released Sapakto against the keto and sent the explosion coursing through the cores. Toshiro versus Haribel. The young captain and dark-skinned Espada clashed, the two giving a fragment of attention to the latter's frustration as Toshiro tried to think of a way to end the fight either quickly or peacefully. He was feeling much better in his Shikaisen's training with Ichigo, while the Espada had yet to use her resurrection. Is that true? The young captain asked as he and the shark got in a blade lock. What those three said, is it true? The stork Rancor narrowed her eyes before kicking the young captain back. It's a foolish idea to try and talk me into changing sides in the middle of a fight, Captain. She responded, charging power through her blades. Hola Azul. She shot a blast of energy at her opponent, who narrowly dodged and clipped his shoulder. I don't need to talk to you, Toshiro responded, earning a raised eyebrow from the Espada. If what they said is true, then you are going to willingly change sides when Ichigo shows up. You believe he's stronger than Lord Aizen? She asked as the fight between them actually stopped. I think Aizen is afraid of him, Hitsugaya returned, and that's why he chose to attack while Ichigo is in Wakemundo. The Spada looked at her master, currently fighting back against the head captain in Urahara, and wondered if what the ice dragon said was true. Her thoughts were interrupted when she saw her flesh engulfed in an explosion before turning to glare at Hitsugaya. We're still fighting, but they won't be killed. He returned before sending a swarm of ice dragons at her. You'd best be telling the truth. Destroy, she commanded before getting engulfed in a shell of water that smashed the dragon to bits. Tiburon. Tessai versus Baragan. And who are you, Ant? The elderly Espada asked his opponent, a tanned man in a dark blue robe with a wide raised collar and staff in hand. Off to the side was a larger, more rotund figure with pink hair and dark skin and dark pink robes. Aizen gave us info on all the current captains and people of interest, but I don't recall you ever coming up in any briefing. The tanned man glared at the Rancor through his shades before slashing over with a cloud of depressed egg hanging over him. I do seem to be forgotten easily. Tessai moaned, wiping away some tears from his eyes. But I suppose that is the price to pay, considering my position, he said before straightening out and facing the former Hollow King. Hachi, I may need to cut loose. Give us a barrier, he ordered, earning a nod from the man who began to wave his hands around and casting his spells. Ryubi no Jama, Koko no Jomon, Kigai no Jomon, Hyoku no Jomon, Hachi chanted, creating a large door, a large black watermill, a honeycomb patterned shield of hexagons, and a fanning red ring connected by a single obelisk that soon entrapped the pair in a massive black rectangular cube. Shiyu no Simon. I am Tessai Sukabishi, and I will be your opponent. Tessai introduced you with a slight bow. Do I get to know the name of my opponent? The scarred elder grunted before hefting a large double-headed battle axe on his shoulder. Very well, I'll give you the courtesy. I am Baragana Luisin Byron, the Seguana Espada and rightful king of Wakemundo, he declared, stretching his body in preparation to crush his opponent. If you are the rightful king, could you be persuaded to join the society in killing Aizen? Tessai offered, hoping for a peaceful solution, and fall under society's reign. I'll pass, Bergan denied, apparently directly in front of Tessai and slamming his knee into the Kido Master's stomach. Tessai flew across the barrier and slammed into the shell of one of the main barrier points, coughing up blood as his ribs cracked and punctured his lungs. I don't intend to fall under anyone's rule ever again. I won't just retake my throne. I will be the god of both Wakemundo and Soap Society. With my power, I will have my revenge on Aizen and crush all who will stand against me, he roared, appearing before Tessai again and and swung his axe down. The Kido master barely had time to block and struggled through the pain in his chest to throw the Arrancar off him. That's what you think? Then you really can't be an ally. Tessai groaned out before blasting Baragon back with a nameless Sokatsui. The plan is for Ichigo Kurosaki to become the new king of Wakamundo and install someone loyal to him as the one to lead Wakamundo as it becomes a new branch of the Gotai. He finished healing himself with Kido before settling into a battle stance, and you made it clear you made it clear you'd still be an enemy. You really think you stand a chance against me? The former king scoffed before Tessai appeared at his side with his palm ready to slam into Baragon's head. However, before he could make contact with Tessai, felt his attack slow down. In that confusion, Baragon slammed his fist into Tessai's ribs once again and snapped a few more of those bones. Tessai dashed away and thrust his staff at the Spada and cast the nameless Gakireko, sending hundreds of green energy bolts at his opponent. As he did that, he also kept a close watch on Baragon. He was dodging every single attack that came close, but the really interesting detail was that those same attacks seemed to slow down in mid-fight. Gravity control, he wondered, trying to figure out what was happening. No, the bolts keep along their paths with no change in trajectory. Air density, that would also include a more noticeable change. Could it be? Are you trying to figure out my power? Baragon asked, finding amusement in the futility of Tessai's attacks. If I had to guess, you manipulate time, correct? Tessai said, earning a small look of surprise from the Spada. That is correct. All of the Spada are granted a power based on their aspect of death, my aspect of age or time, as you said, the most powerful and inevitable of all Spadas, of all aspects. He said, holding up his free hand. With just a touch, I can make you very bones rot. He then held his axe out. But why touch when I can just will it rot? Arrogante, he said before engulfing himself in black flames and becoming a skeleton in a large purple cloak with black fur herms with an ornate gold crown bracelet. That is indeed a form befitting a king of the dead. Tessai admitted, letting go of his staff. My applause to your grace. He collapsed 3 times, but on the third, as he pulled his hands apart, a green bar of light appeared and glowed with increasing intensity until it flashed away. But now that I know your powers, this battle is mine. How arrogant of you, Respira! Baragon said, with an ethereal layer of his gravity, of his gravelly voice, before sending a wave of black mist to the Kido Master. There is nothing you can do before my power. All things age and rot with time. Flesh decays, plants wither, stones crumble, and Kido fades. The mist engulfed Tessai, who did not move in the face of the attacker. I will take your life in penance for insulting a god, he said before laughing, basking in the victory over the Kido Master until he heard the voice of the dead man. Hado 88 Hiryu Gekisoku Shinten Reho. The spell blitzed through the mist and blasted a hole straight through Baragon's torso. As he doubled over and screamed in pain, he saw the unharmed and unaged body of Tessai coming out of the mist. How? Nothing can withstand the rot of age. What did you do? Baragon demanded, already feeling the drain on his life from the mortal below. You are right that Kido does fade with time, but it is such a versatile art. Tessai returned, brushing away some of the mist that's still clinging to him. And you are not the first one to understand the power of time. Soul Reapers have toyed with the idea and the practice long before you. The difference is we fear and respect that power over time is risky and should never be done unless under the most dire of circumstances. That light, Baragon gasped in realization. What did you do? Create a time reverse field around yourself? Nothing of the sort. Tessai responded before pointing at the only unobstructed one, the barrier, revealing another barrier surrounding their battlefield, with Hachi wearing his hollow mask and holding his arms out. That would be the work of that Giko Taiko, a barrier my partner had created, mainly to keep the barrier we are fighting in stable. No, what I did completely nullified your powers within the space. Jikanteshi, the Kido that stops time. Though the skull was expressionless, Tessai could swear he saw the shock on the spot, which slowly shifted to rage. How can I rot, or my ki to fade, when time does not move? Curse you! He roared before bringing out a pitch black and more vicious looking battle axe. Rot! 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 The skeleton yelled out, swinging his axe and sending a wave after wave of his aging mist. Nothing can stand before my power. Nothing can defeat me. I am. He kept yelling before he noticed he was being engulfed in a black box. Kukateni, Tessai calmly cast as he teleported the Kuro Hitsugi spell outside of the barrier. Sleeping crest of turbility, our arrogant vessel of lunacy, and ball forth to end the night, grow numb and flicker, disrupt sleep, crawling in a queen of iron, eternally self-destructing doll of mud, unite, repulse, fill with soil, and know your own powerlessness. Hado 90, Kuro Hitsugoi. Kuro Hitsugi, he chanted as the box seemed to grow more intense until it imploded. Tessai released the spell and Baragon re-entered a normal time flow just as his body crumbled to dust. Tessai went over to where Hachi was and spoke to him through the barrier. Maintain your time regression barrier. I'm about to release the Jikan Teishi. Understood, Hachi said as he poured more energy into the spell. As the Shiju no Simon faded and the full force of Baragon's aging mist struck Tessai, he roared in pain as his body decayed and regenerated until all the mist was reversed from existence, leaving the Kido Master to fall from his place. Commander Tessai, the Visor yelled out, using a Shunpo to catch his commander and carrying him to one of the buildings. Tessai was shaking from the pain, but managed to focus on their next task. I'll be fine, Hachi, Tessai growled, forcing himself to his feet. I just want to be able to fight. I just won't be able to fight anymore today. Let's head to wherever Squad 4 set up the aid station. We'll help them for now. Understood, sir, Hachi said, catching Tessai just as he passed out. Rest now. You've had a hard fight. With Sena, Rangiku, and Momo. Wow, you girls look mad, Sena said as the smoke from the explosion cleared to reveal the three Flacion in the Reaction stasis, glaring fiercely at her. We are still enemies, remember? She asked just before the three were engulfed in a swirling tornado of bladed ash. Not to take you out of the fight so you don't accidentally die, she said, rising above the spinning ash field and swirling her staff to create a whirlwind tunnel to add to Rangiku's own field. Don't underestimate us, you bitch! Growled as the crimson light appeared and exploded, dispelling the tornado of wind and ash. Sena, Rangiku, and Momo were sent flying in opposite directions before righting themselves and seeing the Rashona tear off one of each arm. Guarda Parka, all three called out as their severed limbs came together and slowly mixed until a new being appeared, a massive muscled figure with a deer skull in the center of the head, with a long green snake tail and brown fur covering most of its body and clothed hooves for feet. Its empty black gaze seemed fixated on Sena, who froze in terror, flashing back to Ganryu, easily defeating her. Time slowed to a crawl as the beast dashed forward with his hands out. Before he could connect, another being appeared and pushed her out of the way, taking the strike itself. You stupid girl, Saraki growled as he appeared beside Sena, the furious monster, the fur monster of his Sanpo Kenju crawling out of the rubble of a building and dispersing into smoke. Can't you tell when you're outmatched? You should have been running, not standing there gawking. The beast turned its attention to Kenpachi, who bore a savage smile as he brought up his blade. Just watch. He walked towards the monster while Rangiku and Momo went to Sena, the latter checking her over for injuries. As much as I don't like how he puts it, he's not wrong, Rangiku said as the three watched Saraki challenge the beast. But then again, when was the last time he felt fear? That would be when I told him I wanted a child. They heard Unahana say from behind them, looking at the former Kenpachi with a mix of joy and confusion. Watch carefully, you three. We are trying to gain allies, but we are still fighting. They returned their gaze to Saraki just as the monster threw a punch. The Kenpachi didn't budge even a little before twisting the monster's arm and cutting him into pieces with two swings. Pathetic! He yelled, grabbing the deer skull and crushing it in his grip. Shortly after that, the Tres Bestias attacked him, not even scratching the man known as Kenpachi. I just told the other brats, no, when you're out of your league, he said quietly, with the clear message of death in his tone. The Freshon backed off, feeling the cold touch of killing intent, while Saraki scoffed and went back to crowd control with the Gillians. Sena watched as the 11th squad captain left, remembering the last time she needed to be saved because she was weak. She tightened her grip on her Mirakumari and dashed forward, striking Apache in the stomach. While Rankiku followed and took Mira Rose, leaving Momo with Sung Sung. Where are your opponents? Momo declared, holding up Tobiyume as the spirit manifested beside her. Now let's fight. Rankiku returned, doing the same with Haniko. Why can't I do that? Senna cried, seeing how far behind she was. Toshiro versus Haribel. Seconds after Haribel released her Horacion, going from a somewhat modest appearance to a more revealing miniskirt with thigh-high boots and rather small armor covering the underside of her breast and nipples with big spalders and a small collar wielding a massive pata and gauntlet sword. Toshiro released his Bankai, something that did not tip things in Hitsugaya's favor, as Haribel was one of the Spadas that took training seriously. Every speck of ice was turned to water, and vice versa. Powers were their stalemate. The difference was that Haribel had more speed, strength, and experience. For as much of a prodigy Toshiro was, he still couldn't fully utilize the power of Horiyanmaru, having only learned the true power of the blade after getting his Sanpakuto spirit back. This is so, damn it! He mentally cursed as he tried to fly around the Spada, only for her to use Sonido to intercept and slash at him. He managed to block the burn of the attack with his sword and thick ice. So instead of getting cleaved, it was like getting hit with a club that sent him flying. While trying to right himself, she shot dozens of high pressure water bullets that tore his ice away just as fast as he regenerated it. He examined the ice petals floating around him, a mix of time and power, extortion eroding each one away. Ichigo, please show up. If Kunimaru is right, I can't promise she'll live. He was down to his last three. You're the one that said we're still fighting, Haribel said as Toshiro sensed a massive amount of water above him. Cascada. The water blasted towards him like a high-pressure power geyser, thicker than any of the buildings around them. This is bad, Toshiro said as he cleared a thick shell of some of the coldest ice he could muster, eating away another petal as he did so. The water slammed into his barrier and he felt the ice erode away with every drop. He did what he could to keep it up, but cracks formed in the shield with more jets hitting the captain like multiple fire hoses until the chunks of his own ice struck him from the water. Some cutting, some stabbing, some applying a blunt force trauma until the ice shattered and he was crushed under tons of rushing water, leaving one last crumbling petal. We are not allies yet, as you believed we would become, Haribel lectured the captain as he forced himself to his feet. And why should I join a side with someone as weak as yourself among its leaders? The final petal dissolved and the temperature dropped to freezing. Because my true power isn't fully matured, Toshiro said, and now as a tall, lanky adult without the ice wings, he seemed to struggle to stand. But Haribel had no doubt he was now 100 times more dangerous. She raised her blade and he flicked his wrist at her, freezing her blade and arm completely. You should stand down now. Komura versus Tosen. Tosen, enough of this madness. Come to your senses. Komura yelled out as he and Tosen clashed. The astral bolas he used now in a smaller form. He now held in hand. How is any of this justice? You preach stuff. Tosen dodged and blocked every attack with an accuracy that bordered on foresight. I told you of my friend, did I not? Tosen asked, standing firm in his choice. For the peaceful world she desired, for my goals to be met. This is the path I must take. He was about to perform a counterattack when he felt the presence of his former captain, prompting him to jump out of the way and avoid the gust of razor winds. And what goal is that, Tosen? Kensai asked, spinning around his knife. If it is justice, the Soul Reapers have undergone a massive change. Yes, and Komamara immediately agreed, hoping to use this line of thought to save his friend. Many that were imprisoned unjustly were freed. The nobles are now subject to law, and the barriers between the Serete and Lukan districts is still almost completely gone. Tokiyada Shiro, the man that killed your friend, was finally arrested. At that, Tosen froze. The man his friend married, the man that killed her with no repercussions, was arrested, and he still lives. Tosen asked after a long pause. Hate that was mass now, making its way forth. That Soul Reaper still lives. Komamura was stunned when Tosin said Soul Reaper with open disgust. And now your intent is revealed, Kensai said, not even shocked at Kananame's rage and maintaining his calm for the coming fight. Easy to fool others when you use the word justice, isn't it? This was never about justice as a concept, but your own personal justice, or more accurately, your revenge. Komamura gasped in shock at Kensai's declaration. I'm not denying that there were and still are problems with the way society operates, but that is true of all systems. You want Tsunayashiro dead for killing your friend, and you want to destroy the system that let him get away with it. How pointless! And at that, Tosin turned to glare at his former captain. Pointless, he asked, seething in anger. Pointless! Yes, when the Shikigami are dead, then I will have my justice. But what about this has been pointless? Because no matter what you do, your friend is still dead. Kensai answered, freezing the traitor. Everything you did, all of it was just to make yourself feel better. Tosin was trembling with rage, mumbling the demand that the vizier to be silent. The system that killed your friend has been changed, but not by your actions, and you've alienated every single person that would call you friend, all for one purpose, and a grudge from a past that can't be changed. If she was alive now, she'd do everything in her power to stop you. Komamura growled, coming to terms with the fact that the man he trusted, that he befriended, was never going to change. Tosin couldn't take any more and aimed to cut down Komamura, but was interrupted by Tensai, who donned his mask. Let's do this right, and you show us the monster you've become. The vizier demanded, punching the blind man in the face and pushing him back. Show us just how far you went in your quest for vengeance. Tosin said nothing as his hand went to his face. Rishi gathered at his fingers as he slowly donned a hollow mask. No one saw the tear that appeared in the sky. With Yamamoto/Urahara, the head captain wasted no time charging at who was the current biggest threat to the peaceful era he and so many others enjoyed. With the most clever man in all the Gotai backing him up to kill the upstart. When he first charged, he was attacked by what seemed like a small and innocent child, but he put aside the kindly grandfather and was the leader of the Shinigami. He wasted no time in striking down the boy, not unleashing his Shikai or giving the Rancor the chance to use whatever powers he may have had. When Aizen saw his plan A get decapitated and punched into oblivion, he immediately unsheathed his blade and silently activated his Shikai. He dodged Yamamoto's next slash and was ready to direct the head captain to attacking his own forces when he was trapped in place by several black holes. You can't fool us now, he heard Urahara say before Yamamoto reappeared in front of Aizen and slashed him across the chest. His keto barrier barely holding as he was cut. The force of the attack actually broke him free of the keto spell, and he immediately got away from the two, feeling his body regenerate from the attack. It was a risky gamble, but I'm glad it paid off, Kisuke said as the two captains glared at the traitor. You found a way around my Kyoka Tsugetsu, he asked, thinking back to Ichigo's furious assault in their first fight to prevent him from trapping the hybrid in his hypnosis. You're the only person that has been subjected to your Shikai, but never stopped by it. Urahara returned, ready to continue the fight. That means whoever is in contact with that Sanpakuto must be immune to the hypnosis. You left a fragment of your Sanpakuto in Ichigo, which I ground into a fine powder and left a small amount with every captain and lieutenant. Clever, Aizen admitted as he felt his chest pulse. I regretted that I had forgotten about that, like how you all seem to have forgotten that I was also a former captain of the Gotai 13. He raised his Sapakuto, his images seeming to ripple like a water surface. I will not fall here. Bankai! He shattered like glass as two more copies of him appeared. Yato no Kagami. The two captains tensed, unable to sense which one was the real Aizen, and just then they felt a strong ray to appear and saw a massive tear in the sky, revealing the massive form of Yami Largo.
End of chapter 75.